Why is the mayor's salary not reduced for 2015? It is, it will be. It takes effect, whoever the mayor is, beginning of year 2015, the salary will be reduced. What would be so bad about the state taking over the city? Well, considering that, and here's a little politics that entered into this, when current Governor Kasich was elected 4 years ago, the first thing he did was cut the budget, or the state's funding of city's budget, the local government fund, the estate tax, and the cat tax. Cat tax is the commercial activity tax. It's not a tax on cats. Some people think it is, so I wanted to clarify that. But we lost $1 million, so that was $4 million. So this happened in every city, township, village in the entire state of Ohio. So the state of Ohio has a huge surplus, while cities like Maple Heights do not, and that's part of the reason why. If some think that would be a good thing, you really do lose local control or decision-making as to what you would like to do. You may want to hire police officers that have retired or you lost. The state may say, no, you're not going to do that. You may want to hire firefighters. No, you're not going to do that. Get by with what you have. You may want to open this building and keep the meals going to the shut-ins. The state can say, no, you're not going to do that. So you don't have a choice at that point. Garfield Heights was very, very close, and they were in fiscal emergency a few years ago. We're in fiscal watch. The first step is fiscal caution. And they were told a lot of things that they did not want to do, like to do, but unfortunately had to do, which upset a great deal in a number of their residents. Why can't you turn off the fire responding vehicles, trucks, ambulance? Why must they idle for hours? Well, I know with certain and some types of engines, and I thought there were no mechanics in here earlier. I think somebody's old enough to be mechanic or something.
Yeah.
That's okay, it's a fair question. I know a lot of the vehicles with diesel engines, and we had the same question, and it was a complaint about the railroad, Norfolk Southern Railroad, idling their engines. Because once everything is hot and everything is warm and you shut that down and it gets cold again, you can do some damage to the engines in some of the vehicles. So we do have a clean air policy in the city where and we have signs posted around the city, and our employees are under the directive that if you are not in your vehicle, but you're nearby, you're performing a duty or something, shut it off. And not only saves gasoline, but it saves the ozone and doesn't pollute the air as much. So we are very mindful of that. Are all of the non-owner occupied, in parentheses, rented homes up to date on their taxes? Well, that's probably a no, but even the owner-occupied homes aren't up to date on their taxes. And that little detail of collection falls to our illustrious Cuyahoga County, who really doesn't do a good job in collecting delinquent and back taxes. I can tell you we've lost, and this is, I'm just rounding some figures here, we've lost $8-9 million in property taxes on properties that were lien for back taxes and grass cutting and boarding and securing and police calls and you name it. Cuyahoga County, when properties transfer, what they would like to do and what they do is they don't want to get into it and make all this work to collect this money. So if the house is going to sell or the property they transfer, they wipe it clean. It's an easier, seamless, smooth transition so they don't have to do the work to collect those taxes. What's being done about all the drug activity in the city? Well, I think that was partly addressed earlier, but if anyone knows or has suspicions where there is drug activity, you need to let one of us know, whether that is the police, myself, a member of city council, maybe you know an employee that works for the city. You don't have to come forward. You don't have to give your name and your address and who you are, your social security number, all of it. An address, a block, whatever. We will check into it and look into it. Now, I'm not just standing up here telling you that just to move on to the next question, because we do. We've done a lot of things. We've used other law enforcement agencies that work with Maple Heights and other cities and suburbs to help us, and we do follow up on this. So please, if you have suspicions, know something, let one of us know, some of us know. It does pay off. I mean, you see signs all over shopping malls and airports now. If you see something suspicious, turn it in. Bring it to someone's attention. And we need to do that because we live in a dangerous world and a dangerous society anymore. Why isn't the city on these homeowners about all the litter garbage being taken out earlier, cans being left out longer? We are. Oh, it's on the back. They should be. Back in the 70s, 80s, and Alex remembers this because he was actually around in the 1870s, right, Alex? Just kidding. He always gives it to me, so I got to give it back. That they would fine the people, fine meaning in dollars, yes. That money would help the city get these young adults off the street. Nothing for them to do. They would stop some crime. Well, we do place citations on doors of homes for high grass, litter, garbage, cans being brought out. I can relate to this because, you know, when I was growing up as a kid here, thank you, we used to put all our rubbish in a paper bag in a metal can with a lid. We didn't have plastic garbage bags, they weren't invented yet. So there were garbage cans all over on the streets. And when the garbage truck came by and it was empty, sometime during that day, a reasonable amount of time, somebody, and you know, the parents would usually yell at somebody like me to go get the garbage cans off of the tree line. So, but things have changed because people have become very just lazy, irresponsible, bad attitude. I don't know what it is, but you know, I ride around the city all the time and I phone in the building department. There's a house here, garbage cans were picked up Thursday. It's what, Tuesday? Still out there. Over the weekend, still out there. We have become almost in a sense like a little bit of a police state where we're riding around because we get so many people who just do what they want to do when they want to do it. And they load up the tree lawn, their rubbish is going to get picked up on Wednesday or Thursday. We only have 2 days in this town, and you'll see rubbish out there on Friday. And we'll stop and be like, really? You just had it picked up yesterday. And now you're going to load it all again, so it's going to sit here for 5, 6 more days. Come on. Take it back, because if we pick it up, we send them a bill for $750, $1,000, or whatever, and that's a high bill because we have to stop what our service department is doing, and we only have like 6 to 8 guys there anyway, and they have to take it to Boyas, which is a landfill, and they charge us for that. We just can't take it to a dumpster somewhere at the service garage or City Hall and throw it in there because that's full of our garbage. So we have to take it and get rid of it. And they charge us. So we, in turn, pass that on, the hourly rates of the employees, the trucks, fuel, everything. It's all calculated, the landfill fees. Boy, they don't want to pay that. So if they don't, we put that on the property taxes. And eventually, we will get it. What about the fact that a small amount of registered voters voted last May? Where were the other registered voters?
Yeah.
Do they care about this city? That's an excellent question.
We'd like to know that.
You know, one word, apathy. You know, that's what it is. If certain people get elected, or certain issues pass, or you know, zoning is changed and only a handful of people come out and vote, and they don't speak for the majority, but they are because they're the only ones that are voting. And I think a lot of people feel like their vote doesn't matter, like their vote doesn't count. And it's really become a dilemma, an issue, a struggle, whatever, to motivate people, to get them to believe again, because there's this big, and that goes back to that brain drain I said before, because there's people that are counting on you not to vote. They're counting on you to be disillusioned and to stay at home and not vote. And it's getting easier. I mean, we can vote by mail now. They send you the application. All you got to do is put a stamp on it. They'll send you your ballot. You mail it off. You know, someday we may vote on the internet. That could be next. But there really is no excuse. I agree, this is an excellent question. People need to exercise that right that people died for.
That's right.
And that's voting. How does the city plan on getting younger people to vote for the levy? Also, do you plan to get people, renters, to buy in on voting for this levy? Well, we have a campaign going on. Many ideas have been discussed. We are going to reach out to, and we have the most current, what's called the most current religious list of voters, and we will be reaching these people. Now, when you have renters, you have to understand that they're the biggest disconnect there, because they sometimes come and go, so you don't even know if they're registered anyway.
They don't pay real estate taxes anyway.
Well, no, they don't. They're landlords too, but
They should be allowed
they
to vote.
still can vote. I mean, if you're responsible, even if you're a renter, you know, you're living in a city, you should go get your driver's license updated and changed. You should change your checking account, your name, address on that. There's certain things as responsible citizens you should do, which is including, and it's very easy to change your voting address. So we will be reaching out to people, whether it's door to door, through the mail, events like this. We will be doing our best to reach them. How come the fire department doesn't try to collect funds like they used to? I'm not sure what that means. Trying to collect funds at main intersections. Oh, probably for late day for the MDA. We didn't do that this year? We don't know. I guess we did. But try to do that next year. The people of Maple Heights have paid for school construction in the past through bond issues and levies. Now that the empty properties on Raymond and Dunham, Granger School, are vacant, when will they revert back to the city and citizens of Maple Heights? Well, those two properties in question are owned by the Board of Education. Their schools were on them and they own those two properties. Now, we've had some interest in both properties, more so Raymond School because it's so large and so big that developers, cluster homes, houses, condos, Granger Road, there was talk about some type of a park. We have every lead, every call that we get, since we are not the owners of those properties, we do forward to the Board of Education, that being the superintendent. So what their plans are, I don't know. I can say that when you tear down a building on a parcel, there is going to be settling for a few years. Because remember, those buildings stood there for 60, 70 years. So, and they had basements. You know, not many new constructed buildings anymore have basements and foundations. So they may be waiting. I'm just talking out loud here, but it's basically their land. We will not own it or take it from them unless they give it to us. How much income is the city getting from fees charged to the intermodal? Nothing, no fees. Those fees expired many years ago. They were the result of a lawsuit. There was one lawsuit, there was a second lawsuit. The first lawsuit was 2 mayors ago, back in the 1990s, which resulted in, I believe it was $2 million cash payment up front, and there was $100,000 every year for, I think, 3 or 4 years. There were some tipping fees, $2 a truck. Then there was a second lawsuit. When that expired, the intermodal has expanded greatly. And the city, under a different mayor and a different administration, law department, filed suit against Norfolk Southern to try to stop their expansion. And they were not successful. And the small pittance of an amount that the city received, which was somewhat a little over $100,000, went to pay the city's legal fees, engineering fees, construction manager fees. So by the time everybody, got done dipping into it, that was back in 2004, 2005. That money was gone. The city got nothing. How much left in the rainy day fund? Thank God we're in a drought. What do we got in there? 10 grand? 21. Okay, I thought council was, left 10, but they left 21. They moved some of the money into the general fund to help pay bills, so we had $21,000 in the rainy day fund. What effort has Maple Heights department heads adopted looking at best practices in other communities to adopt into Maple Heights operations? Is that like a question of regionalism? That's the way I'm taking it. As the fire chief stated, we use mutual aid. If we need them or they need us, we are more than happy to help. That also goes for the police department too. Our service department has used other cities, Garfield Heights and Bedford. We've shared some other senior services. So we do work with our neighbors as far as getting them to help us as much as we can help them. As far as like the bigger picture, which has been talked about for a long time, about combining governments and, less elected officials, yay, we don't want that, right? Yeah. But they don't seem to want to do it. So it's kind of like, legislation or trying to get governments to come together and band together, because what started to happen years ago was if some cities had problems or didn't have money and they were looking to merge with a city that had money, then they didn't want to share that to incur the other city's debt or their problems, so they didn't want to regionalize. So it's been talked about a lot, but unfortunately it hasn't ever happened. So, and I don't see it happening in the foreseeable future, but we do share other services with our neighbors. We're very good at that. The use of the camera was to free up the police officers so they can catch other criminals by using a police officer. With the camera, doesn't this make the citizens more vulnerable to become victims of crime? Maybe that should be without the camera. I would say yes. The police officers, the ones that we have, are very active in patrolling and getting out there and responding to crimes. Again, if you see something or know something, you can ask for special attention for the police to monitor streets or areas because there may be something going on. I get calls from residents a lot, and they ask, there's certain activity, suspicious house, people coming and going middle of the night, they park cars on the street when they're not supposed to between 4 and 6. You can get special attention, and they will patrol and they will go by and be seen and be very visible. We do comply with that. So again, if you need that, call one of us, some of us, and let us know, and we would be happy to help. Why is Maple Heights contract with Waste Management for trash collection? Well, first it was BFI who had our trash collection. And before that, we did it. Our city did it. We had a driver and 2 laborers on the back of a truck. And they would ride on the back of the truck, house to house, pick the rubbish up. And when the truck was full, all 3 of them would jump in the front seat and they'd go to landfill. And it was a real nice thing back then because when they were done with their route, they were on what was called the task system. So when they were done with their route, they would go home. So if they finished their route by noon or 1 o'clock, they went home. And they got paid for 8 hours. So, then back in the late 80s, landfills started to fill up real fast. Because everybody was dumping their rubbish there. We didn't recycle. What was recycling? Nobody even knew about that. We used to take pop bottles back to the corner store to get a quarter or a dime. I'm going to give away my age here in a minute, but no one recycled. So landfills all of a sudden decided that they're going to raise their fees to dump. And cities like Maple Heights and others didn't have that kind of money because, we're a blue-collar community. So we actually got kicked out of our landfill because they didn't want us. They said, you're bringing us too much rubbish. It was Norton Landfill on Route 82 in North Royalton. Kicked us out. We had to go to court to get an injunction to go back. So a few years later, as a lot of cities have done, they went out to bid, and ironically, the owners of all the landfills started their own rubbish removal companies. So now they have and control everything. But through the years, because we're not really big in our society on recycling, we just throw it all out there, commingled, and let them sort it out. So now they're getting full too. So to cut costs, they take what used to be a 2-man truck, now it's a 1-man truck. And you see this all over. These companies, Waste Management, Rumpke, there's others, they have these huge cans with grabbers that lift up the can and dump it. 1-man operation. So it's cheap. You eliminated 1-2 people, so they're making money. And as far as recycling, yeah, they use some of it. They have ways that rubbish goes on a conveyor belt and they have air pressure that blows off certain things that have certain weights. They have magnets that pick out metal and hand pickers. They do, and a lot of the rubbish they convert into methane fuel. They finally figured out a way to harness it without getting blown up. So they're doing some good things, but we have always, for as long as I can remember, going back to the early 1990s, had a private hauler. And it looks like, more cities, the few that are left are going to be going to them.
But why Waste Management?
They were the low bidder.
They were?
Yes. They were the low bidder. Will you take on volunteers for any departments in need of help? Yes. Yes, we will. We do take on volunteers. We have our HR directors here. Raise your hand. See you're sitting there, Lori Waller. If you want to volunteer, give her a call or get her tonight before she gets out of here. So I told you there was a price for coming tonight. Will this levy be combined with the speed cameras or one levy, or will the ballot have to be separate, or will it be separated on the ballot? The issues are always all separated. Every issue is unto itself, as every candidate is unto itself for their self. So they will be all separated. And that is randomly done by the Board of Elections. Not every ballot at every voting precinct is printed exactly the same. Names are reversed, issues are reversed, it's all done randomly. please explain the RITA tax recovery program. Well, RITA tax is the agency that collects the local city income tax. And they are located in Brecksville, on Brecksville Road. They collect, I don't know, 30, 40 more, maybe 50, 60 cities. They collect a lot of cities' taxes. And I gotta tell you, they're not real good at going after people who don't pay either. So the city has millions of dollars in outstanding taxes that haven't been paid, that they are very lax and very, very just like-minded about collecting and getting. They're wet. We've had meetings with them. New directors have come and gone, and we've met with them and been assured you will get a response and you will see a difference, and it's the same old story.
Well, excuse me, can't the state of Ohio, since they put us in fiscal watch, can't they make the county do something to get the people to pay the taxes?
They probably could. They probably could get more active and get more forceful and get in there, but you know, you have to realize the politics here with the county and the state, because and I'm sure most people here, the majority are homeowners. And when your value on your property was lowered a few years ago, a lot, it was lowered. Okay, we met with the county, and the people that we met with, they have since fled and jumped off the Titanic. They're not there anymore. And they told us that the state made them do it, told them to do it. Okay, so when we met with the state, you know what the state said? Oh, we didn't tell them to do that. They're supposed to do that. So you read in between the lines here, and what it was this new county government, all these, you know, people that wrote in the town, and we're going to reform and save and change, you know, because change, everybody likes change. Want to know what they did? They didn't know what to do. So they called up the state and said, what do we do? And the state said, you have to reevaluate those properties. You have to get out there and get your cars and go ride around and look at these houses and these streets, and you know, you have to do that. They didn't know to do it. The state told them to do it because they didn't have a clue. And then, to our chagrin, and when they devalued our properties, we were dealing with people that, I asked a couple of them for business cards. They didn't even have business cards. I said to one guy, how long have you worked here? Oh, just a couple of months. And you came into my city and you rode around and you looked? You didn't know what you were looking at and where you were. They actually, and I want you to know how medieval this all sounds. Because we've torn down over 125 or more houses in the city. That's not a lot. You know, we have like 12,500 homes, apartments, condos, whatever. So you tear down 125, 150, you know, that's not even 1%. So, but it is a lot. And they told us, you know, when you tore that house down, you devalued the whole neighborhood. And I looked at them and I said, are you kidding me? We received federal money when Barack Obama was elected president. We had this shovel-ready money, this stimulus money. We got $500,000, which half of that we tore down houses that had values of $7,000, $10,000, $12,000. And you all know the kind of houses I'm talking about, with boards on the windows and holes in the roof and stripped of all the copper, and the urban miners have been in there and taken everything of value. We tore those down. Why? Because the federal government told us to, and they gave us the money. Here, we are giving you the money. Tear them down. Fill them in. Make a garden, make a park, whatever. Or just plant grass and cut it. Okay. The county comes along and says, that house was worth $7,000. So when you took it away, you took away that $7,000. So now it's worth $0,000. Nothing. So you brought everybody's value down. And Wade Steen, who was the county financial whatever he was, guru, at the time, I told him, I said, you know, even Alan Greenspan said you got too much empty, dead housing stock, burn it down. Jim Rokakis said, quote, vacant homes are like a cancerous tumor. What do you do with a cancerous tumor? You go in, you cut it out, and you stabilize. But the county told us, no, you screwed up. You screwed up. So the state and the county are a big part of the problem here. Because when the state, we lost $1 million, the county, with the devaluation, we lost $1.5 million. So the county, we lost $6 million over the last 4 years. The state, another $4 million so far. That's $10 million right there. That's a lot of money. And the schools are taking a hit too because they live off of property taxes. We live off of income taxes. So we're all taking these hits. But they do not work well together. You know, the things as children don't play well with each other, whatever, they don't. Yes, sir.
Real quick question, going back to RITA. You said that the county isn't much help, which most counties aren't. However, there are cities that sit down with the county and do arrange to have a yearly group from RITA come into their city, and they notify residents who are behind, and they have to come in, either make arrangements to pay the taxes, or they're taken to court. Have we looked at doing anything like that?
They used to do that because at one time I knew someone that got a letter, had to go to Maple Mayor's Court, and they either had to pay their RITA or they...
We do that. We've done that. We still are doing that with RITA. Relax.
I just don't want
I'm
them
getting
to
there.
miss their bedtime.
They're not listening.